Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to ask a really silly question, and that question is, how many of you have ever failed at something? Well, I think that's an easy question. I think that's one that we all can answer an affirmative yes to. And so today, one thing that I have noticed in my coaching and coaching people is there is oftentimes, especially when you get to be in life where I am and where most of the people in my group are going to be on the latter side of midlife or a little bit beyond. And with that comes so many benefits, but with that also comes a lot of baggage that we carry around with us about things that have happened to us or our shortcomings. And one of the things in the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community and in the group that we work on and that I work on with people in my coaching is trying to let go of the beliefs that we have about ourselves that aren't serving us and aren't moving us forward. Because we all have a very finite amount of time here on this earth. We don't know how much time we have. We don't know when our time is going to be done. So we really have to make the most of every moment that we have. All the moments that we have in our lives, we have to make the most of them. And if we are being held back because we are fearful and we are afraid because of things not working out from our past or us having experiences of not being successful, we are going to be wasting the one and only life that we have. And I don't want that for anybody, and I don't want it for myself. And so this podcast is really about how do you reframe? How do you change how you look at a failure and turn it into a success, even though the end result never changes. The end result is what it is. We can't change that. That's out of our control. It's done. Whatever thing that we've failed at, it's done. But the only thing that we can change is how we look at it. And that always comes back to our thoughts, the thoughts that we have about whatever circumstance or situation that we are presented with. Now, for many people that I work with, there is a huge and overwhelming fear and hesitation and shame associated with past failures. And whether that be past failures in other aspects of their life, but more specifically, what we deal with is failures when it comes to losing weight. And I think for a lot of people, losing weight is the easy part. It's when you get to the weight where you want to be or you've lost weight, it's how do you not fail by backsliding? How do you not fail by gaining it back? And that, I think, causes so much shame and so much humiliation and so much disgust and embarrassment that we're missing what we can get out of failure and how we can come away from it in a very different place and from a very different place. So that is what we're going to talk about today. So if you are listening to the podcast and you are not a member of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community, you want to become one, you can find us at www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough, or like a lot of people do, just go onto Facebook, go in the search bar, put in emotional eating. My group is going to pop up. So again, Breakthrough Emotional Eating is where we are. So I am going to ask those people, and I always go live every Wednesday in the group with the podcast. So I am going to ask for those people who are watching live, if you feel comfortable, I'm going to ask you in the comments, what was your most recent failure? What was your most recent failure? And I will tell you what my most recent failure was. My most recent failure happened this morning. And that was when for those people who follow the podcast or who are in the group, every morning I take my dog, Jackson, who's a husky. I take him out for a run because he has a ton of energy and walking is just not enough. So I take him out for a run every single morning because he's a hot mess if I don't. So I take him out every single morning and we go running. And I didn't get him out early enough. And I will tell you that we have been working on this. We've been working on not being so reactive to other dogs. And we got out on our run. And I kid you not, we did not get 7 minutes into our run. And it was like every dog on the street came out. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. And he lost his mind. And we've been working on this, and it was like everything we've been working on went out the window. And he was like a child in the store who wants a candy bar and is just going to like just flop on the ground, and then you go to like pick them up and they like wrestle away from you and they like gyrate and they fling themselves, and he's squealing. And these poor kids are walking to school. They're looking like, why is that lady beating up her dog? I mean, I was just trying to hold him back so he didn't run into traffic to try to get to these dogs. And it's not that he's going to hurt anybody. He just wants to play. He just wants to be around other dogs. And for those of you who are thinking, oh, you need a second dog. No, I don't need a second dog. I have a very, very small home. I have no backyard. I don't need a second dog. But we came home, and it was like we just kept running into more dogs, and I thought, forget it, we're going back home. And I came home and I felt so defeated. And I felt like such a failure as a parent. Like, why? Like, what am I not doing? Like, why can I not get this right? So that I wanted to share that because we all have things that happen. We all have failures. We all have, these small moments where things happen and you're like, oh, like, when can I get this? When can I not? When can I, when am I going to be able to like figure this out? And I know for a lot of you, I'm looking at in the comments right now, and a lot of you are relating this to weight gain and to weight loss and things like that, and I completely understand that, completely appreciate that. Just a lot of you are talking about like overeating, gaining weight back, and any sort of dieting. We have some people are talking about relationships, things like that. We all have various areas of our lives that we struggle with this, and it's really, really challenging. And so today I want to just go over 6 different reasons, 6 different ways to reframe your thinking when it comes to failure. 6 different ways to look at failure in a completely different way. So the first one, my character is so being strengthened right now. So failure strengthens your character. So that's the first thing. Failure strengthens your character. Because we know our character and our strength as a human being is not forged and created and solidified by good times. Good times are easy. That's easy stuff. Like you cruise. You don't learn anything. Like when you're on vacation and things are going awesome and you're laying on the beach or you're in the mountains or whatever, you're not learning anything. You're not getting stronger. You're just enjoying life. That's not where we get stronger. Failure is where our character, where our resilience, where our strength is actually formed and solidified. Failure also changes your determination to be successful. So all of you who are thinking about your overeating or eating dissatisfied, eating past satisfied, for anyone who's thinking about that, each time you don't get it, it's helping you become more determined to figure this out. Every time we go out on a walk and we face him becoming reactive with another dog, I just become more determined. Like, I need to get this figured out. And I'm so, like, that was what I was thinking as we were walking back home. I was like, okay, so what are the things that I need to do? What have I not tried? Who do I need to reach out to? Who do I need to call afterwards? I mean, I have like 3 or 4 people I'm going to be calling after I'm done, because I have some ideas about things that I can work on. But it just makes me more determined. So it's not that I ever give up on me or I ever give up on him. It's becoming more determined. What can I do? What can I do? How can I make this a success? So again, we become survivors, we become fighters, and that's how we identify. That's how we become strong in character. So that's the first one. Number 2, we know failure is and always will be our greatest teacher. We do not, when things are easy, when we're in our comfort zone, when everything's going smoothly, we don't learn nearly as much as we're going to learn when we are in the midst of a failure. We just have to remember to always look for the opportunity. What can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? And that's what I try to do every time. What can I learn from this? And I see, Joy, thank you so much for your comment in the comments. I appreciate that, and I will, when I'm not on the verge of tears, I will absolutely read that and take note of it, just because it is true. There's always something that I can learn. And what I learn also is he's very reactive to me. When I'm not in a good place, things like I took him out because we had run out of time and I wanted to make sure he got a walk before I did my podcast, because that sometimes if I don't walk him, he's right up here next to me and he's, trying to pull me away from the podcast. So I tried to do it in a way that was going to work, and we kind of backfired it. So that, it's just always trying to recognize how can I learn from that. Number 3, it shows you where you can improve. Failure shows you where you need to be able to improve and where you can improve. And I know we talk a lot on the podcast and in the group about, being kind to ourselves. And being kind to yourself does not mean that you can't say that I need to get better in certain things. That doesn't make, like, because I haven't figured this out yet, not that I can't, because I haven't figured this out yet, it doesn't mean that my life is for naught. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It does improvement. Sometimes when we talk about, we're like, oh, I just love myself the way I am. And I like that. I want everybody to love themselves where they are. But love yourself where you are, and know that nobody ever reaches the place where we've arrived. We always have something to gain. We always have something to improve upon. Every single person has something to improve upon. And so we always have to remember that it's not about, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing to say that you want to improve in something. It doesn't mean that you're putting yourself down. It means you want to grow, you want to learn, you want to expand, you want to get better. And that's one thing I think is always important. We always want to be getting better. Always. All right. Oh my goodness. Jackie, I know you're on this, you're watching in the group. Jackie always says, we get a fresh 24 hours every single day. It's a fresh start. Failure is a fresh start. It means we get to try over. We get to try it again. We get to do it again. And sometimes we get to do it again and we get to improve. And sometimes we get to do it again and we just stay the same. And that's okay. But it's a fresh start. And it all depends on how you want to look at a fresh start. Do you want to see a fresh start as being a positive thing? Or do you want to see it as, oh, that means that you fell short? No, it's all in how we want to choose. Each individual person wants to choose to look at it. So really taking your opportunity to decide, what are the thoughts that I have about what I do and about my failure? Because I can promise you, I'm so sure, because we have so many very, very big-hearted people in this group and who listen to the podcast. I'm sure when somebody else in your life has a failure, You are so there to pick them up, to be so kind, to be so supportive, to tell them all the wonderful things that you should be telling yourself, but that oftentimes we don't. We don't tell ourselves those things. We tell other people. We're always going to try and lift ourselves, lift others up before we lift ourselves up. We have got to be our own little inflation, a little air compressor that blows us up. We need to be that for ourselves. And absolutely, Jackie, always positive. How can I make it better? It's always what we're looking at. How can we make it better? So again, that fresh start can be viewed as wanting to get better. Absolutely. Oh, I like this. Failure is a great opportunity to reinvent a little part of my thinking. 100%, Anne, that is so true. We always get the opportunity to improve the thinking. If our thinking has not been working for us, we get to improve how we're thinking every single day and growing and learning and just expanding. All right, number 5, failure shows you that you have the courage to at least try. Failure shows you that you at least are in the game, because so many people are so afraid of even trying, of even putting their foot out, putting themselves out there, doing something different, trying again and again and again. We get that opportunity, but we have to look at it as when we bounce back from a failure, like how strong, how courageous is that? I mean, that's what I don't think enough people give themselves credit for. How courageous are you? Sometimes it feels like it's just courageous just to get up in the morning. And that's what I want you to see. It's like, I'm getting up, I'm doing it again. Yeah, last night was horrible. Yeah, last night I ate too much after dinner, but you know what? I'm here and I'm doing it again. And I'm trying, and I'm gonna get right back on there. And I am a brave warrior princess, and I am going to do it. That's what we need to be saying to ourselves. We need to see it as we are showing ourselves courage every time we fail, because we at least put ourselves out there. And lastly, then I think this one is to me, this is the most important thing. You all have heard me say, life is 50% positive, 50% negative emotions and experiences. You're going to have 50% of your experiences be negative. That's just part of being a human being. But we cannot have the positives without the negatives. We can't have the successes without the failures, because otherwise we will never fully appreciate the success that we have. So you have to almost be appreciative of failure, because it means that when that success comes, oh my gosh, it's going to mean so much more. It's going to be so much more intense. It's going to be so much more valued and appreciated and respected, because you're going to know what the valley felt like before you got to the top of the mountain. You have to have that. You have to have that context. You have to be able to see, okay, here I am at the top of the hill, but what was it like down here in the valley? If you don't have that valley experience, you can't fully appreciate what it means to be at the top, to have that success. And it's so funny. It always makes me think of, I think about this with like when they have, when either you talk about somebody who's like a singer or somebody who's an actor, and they suddenly just seem to like pop on the scene, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh my gosh, where did this person come from? Gosh, they're an overnight success. There is no such thing ever as an overnight success. It just might mean that people didn't know about this person or didn't know about all the things they went through. But when you find out about certain people and you hear these, like, oh, they just had it so easy and they just came in and they were so successful. You don't know about the 4, 5, 6 years previous where they were struggling. They were not doing anything. For those of you who, and you might not know who this person is, but if you don't know who this person is, you need to know who this person is. Rachel Hollis is she's an author, and she is an entrepreneur. And she, for those people, "Girl Wash Your Face" is one of her books, and she came out with believe she has three. I think it's now three New York Times bestsellers, and very very influential in the self improvement. Anybody, if you want a really inspiring book, again, Girl Wash Your Face. Anything by Rachel Hollis is really well done and very inspirational. I've seen her I saw her speak in person. She's amazing. But what people don't know is people think like, oh gosh, Rachel Hollis, she just comes out of nowhere and she's this entrepreneur and she's doing, she runs this huge company and she's doing all of these things. And what people don't know is she has these three bestsellers on the New York Times bestseller list. But she has written 14 books. She's written 14 books. 11 books no one's heard of. Her last three are New York Times bestsellers. She had a Facebook group. She has a Facebook group currently of about, I think it's 10,000. 10,000? There's probably more than that. I'm sure it's more than that. She had a Facebook group for 14 years before anything. And she had followers. She had people that she was working with, and had tons and tons and tons of people watching, but didn't have any success. Years and years and years. And people thought, oh, she just popped out of nowhere. No, she didn't just pop out of nowhere. She had been struggling over and over and over again. So it's really, really important to remember that we really can't fully appreciate what we gain and what we succeed at unless we have those failures, unless we have those struggles. And so when you're in the midst of a struggle, when I'm in the midst of a walk trying to control my dog from running out into the middle of the street, I have to remember, and I kid you not, I visualize us walking together. I visualize us walking together and another dog approaching us and him just being totally calm. I visualize it. It's not going to be the only thing that's going to get me there. Visualizing is not going to do it, but it's going to help. It's going to move me in the right direction. It's going to plant that seed, and it's going to help me guide him to be able to address this. So I know that we're going to get there. I know we are. I have so much faith. I have so much confidence. I have so much belief that we're going to get there. And so I know this struggle is going to be worth it. I know it's worth it. It's worth it when he snuggles with me at night. Sleeps next to me on the bed, sleeps next to me on the floor. I know that's worth it. So I know I'm going to get there, but I have to start, and I want all of you to start looking at those failures, looking at what we deem as failures, look at them as a gift. Start looking at them with gratitude, with appreciation, because they're moving you forward, they're teaching you lessons, they're helping you appreciate, they're building your strength, they're making you stronger, and they're showing how courageous you are, because every day you get back out there and you keep on keeping on. That's what we need to remember. So if there's anything that I can tell you moving forward, I want you to really lean into failure, be okay with it, be happy about it, because one of the things that we talk about in the 21-day jumpstart is your best days come after your worst days. Your best days come after your worst days. So you always have to remember, those times when you feel like you're so down, that just around the corner, you just got to keep plugging away. So keep plugging away, and those failures, it's all in how we want to look at them. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are listening in the group, I did tell you beforehand, please don't jump off, stay on, because we have an upcoming challenge that we're going to be doing. And so I definitely want to talk to you about the details on that. So podcast listeners, thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you all next week. Thank you again. Appreciate it. And remember, failure is only a failure if you don't want to see the gifts that are contained in it. So again, look at your failures as gratitude, in gratitude, and look for all of the lessons that you get to learn. All right, take care, everyone. See you next week.